Odysseus is the hero of the Odyssey, and it's fair to say that Achilles is the hero of the Iliad. But while Achilles makes an appearance in the Odyssey as a ghost, an enervated, emasculated shade, Odysseus in contrast plays a far more significant role in the Iliad. And in the Iliad we see aspects of Odysseus' character that seem familiar, his charisma, cunning, and occasional cold brutality. So in this video, I'll take a look at Odysseus in the Iliad. Welcome to Ancient Classics. Back in the 1920s, Coleman Norton catalogued all of Odysseus' appearances. Here you go. Odysseus appears in 15 of the 24 books of the Iliad and plays a crucial role at several key plot points. When in Book 1 the priest Chryses has cursed the Achaean army with a plague owing to Agamemnon's refusal to return his captive daughter, it is Odysseus who is trusted to return the girl to her father. When in Book 2 Agamemnon tests the Achaean army by suggesting they give up on the siege, and the army takes him at his word, it is Odysseus, roused by Athene, who rallies the army and persuades the Achaeans to fight on. Odysseus is appointed to lead the embassy to visit Achilles, withdrawn from fighting after his humiliation, passing on the promises of gifts and glory that Agamemnon is too cowardly to offer himself. Then, in Book 19, Odysseus reminds everyone that it's time to have their dinner, pausing the brutal onslaughts of the later books and thus winding up the tension for Achilles' climactic battle with Hector. And all that's aside from Odysseus' other appearances and special features outside the key plot events of the epic. So who is the Odysseus who appears in the Iliad? Is he the same hero who appears in the Odyssey? Did the two epics draw from the same corpus of stories? Or was the character and exploits of Odysseus only fully formed once the Odyssey itself took shape, assuming that the Odyssey in its mature state post-dates the Iliad? These are complicated and perhaps unanswerable questions, and in a later video I want to take a look at the origins and development of the hero. But one thing is clear and common to both the Odyssey and the Iliad, and that's Odysseus' reputation as a man of wit with cruel and often brutal cunning. This aspect of his character is reflected by the epithets polymechanos, of many stratagems or tricks, and polύmητις, of many wiles, both commonly used of Odysseus in the Iliad, though he's never called polytropos, the distinctive epithet used in the very first line of the Odyssey. Even so, in the Iliad, we never quite see the full trickster figure, the mastermind of the Trojan horse, the man who outwitted the Cyclops and played a cunning long game of subterfuge and alliance building to win back his home from the suitors. Rather, his wit and charisma manifests in slightly more direct means. We see the eloquent diplomat, the war leader who rallies troops and quells dissenters, the man with the presence of mind to challenge his notional superior Agamemnon and get away with it. But we also see the darker side of Odysseus' charisma and wiles. It is perhaps an observable feature of life that there is a strange and unnerving proximity or adjacency between charisma, wit, and psychopathy. And there are some people in life and literature alike who demonstrate all three traits. And we can see this in the Odysseus of both the Odyssey, but almost especially the Iliad. Odysseus' brutality manifests itself most starkly perhaps in Book 10 of the Iliad, the controversial and quite possibly interpolated Doloneia. Odysseus and Diomedes go out on an expedition, capture a Trojan scout called Dolon, interrogate him, and then kill him in cold blood. Midway through the interrogation, Odysseus smiles. Ton epimedesas prosephen polύmητις Odysseus. Then, smiling at him, Odysseus of many wiles spoke to him. Pash notes that, whereas it is not uncommon for heroes in the Iliad to smile, this is the only time in the epic that Odysseus smiles. Odysseus' smile is all the more peculiar since it occurs in one of the darkest, both literally and figuratively, moments of the Iliad. Odysseus smiles because Dolon's hopes are preposterous. Odysseus is well aware that Dolon is going to die, and that does not prevent him from smiling. Pash also remarks that unlike others, Odysseus never weeps. Odysseus in the Iliad can smile, but he does not cry. He clearly plays a central role in the narrative, yet he is strangely remote from it. Although he completely breaks down when Demodocus sings of the Trojan War in the Odyssey, he displays none of that depth of emotion in the Iliad. It is almost as if Odysseus were aware that the Iliad is not his story and nothing for him to take too seriously. That's a kind of chilling thought, although it is somewhat undermined by the number of times Odysseus gets pissed off, the theme of a paper by Haft. Now, the physical descriptions of epic heroes as presented to us in the literature have become something of a hot topic in the public discourse at the moment, especially in the context of casting choices for movies. So with that in mind, we ought to consider the famous Teichoskopia, the view from the wall scene in Book 3 of the Iliad, where Helen looks down from the walls of Troy and identifies the Achaean heroes to King Priam. Next, old man Priam saw Odysseus and asked, "So tell me, dear child, who is that man? He is shorter than Agamemnon, son of Atreus, but with broader shoulders and chest to all appearances. His arms and armour lie on the rich soil, while he struts around through the ranks of men like a ram amongst the flock. Indeed, I liken him to a thick-fleeced ram pacing through a great flock of white ewes." And Helen, daughter of Zeus, answered him, "That man is the son of Laertes, a man of many wiles, Odysseus. Raised in the craggy land of Ithaca, he is a man who knows all kinds of tricks and cunning wiles." Then wise Antenor responded to her, "You speak the truth, woman, for once noble Odysseus came here on a diplomatic mission along with Menelaus, beloved of Ares. I welcomed them courteously in our halls, and came to learn of their respective physiques and cunning wiles." When they stood amongst the assembled Trojans, Menelaus towered over Odysseus, broad shoulders and all. But seated, Odysseus was more statesmanlike. When they weaved their words before us all, Menelaus spoke fluently, succinct and clear. He was not the kind of man to witter on randomly, even though he was younger. But when the man of many wiles, Odysseus, got up to speak, at first he just stood there, eyes fixed on the ground, and he didn't wave his staff back and forth like you're supposed to, but held it still, like a fool. You'd have said he was a brain-dead moron, but when the words came forth from his mouth and from that mighty chest of his, they were pristine, like winter's snow, and then no mortal man could rival Odysseus. Now, there may be speculation that the character of Odysseus already existed outside the mainstream martial epic tradition, and that the character of the hero we see in the Odyssey is a composite of non-martial archetypes, who has been somewhat awkwardly interpolated into the martial epic Iliad. But by looking too hard for traces of a folkloric trickster figure in the Iliad, we're at risk of overlooking the fact that Odysseus also performs the role of a mainstream martial epic hero, as well as any other, bar Achilles. So I thought we'd end this video not with any profound reflections on who Odysseus is and his roots, but rather with an opportunity to see Odysseus performing the core competence of a mainstream martial epic hero, doing what Achaean warriors do best. So here's a scene from Book 11 of the Iliad. Odysseus is caught alone and encircled by Trojans, but keeps on fighting until reinforcements arrive. Hainsworth notes that in the Iliad, when a warrior is hard-pressed by superior numbers, he retreats until he is received into the ranks of his own side. It is therefore unusual that Odysseus stands his own ground and engages in a small aristeia, culminating in a minor duel. The ranks of shield-bearing Trojans advanced, encircling Odysseus and dooming themselves. Just like when hounds and vigorous youths harry a boar, he bursts out of the thick undergrowth, whetting his white tusks and jagged teeth as they assault him from all sides. The noise of clashing tusks resounds, but the hunters hold their ground, terrifying though the boar is. So did the Trojans harry Odysseus, dear to Zeus. First Odysseus wounded noble Deiopites in the shoulder, driving downwards with his sharp spear. Then he took Thoon and Anomus' lives. Then, as Chersidamus leapt down from his chariot, Odysseus speared him in the groin, just below his bossed shield. Chersidamus fell into the dust and clawed at the ground. But Odysseus let them be, and speared Charops, son of Hippasos, brother of wealthy Sokos. Sokos, a godlike man, came to his aid. Approaching, he stood face to face with Odysseus and spoke these words. Odysseus, a man much praised, but addicted to trickery and toil, say your prayers. Either kill and despoil both sons, or be struck by my spear and die. Thus spoke Sokos, and he struck Odysseus his evenly balanced shield. His mighty spear pierced the shining shield and went through his well-crafted armor, ripping flesh away from his flank. But Pallas Athene would not allow the spear to enter the hero's vitals. Odysseus realized that the spear had not inflicted a fatal wound. He stepped back and then said to Sokos, "Wretch, now you have met your doom. True, you've interrupted my slaughter of the Trojans, but I declare that today's the day that the dark fate of death will come to you. Conquered by my spear, you will grant me glory, and you will grant to Hades your soul." Sokos turned and fled, but Odysseus skewered his back as he turned, between the shoulders, driving the spear right through his chest. Sokos fell, crashing to the ground, and noble Odysseus exulted.